And so, welcome everybody to another session of our COVID Crisis Comeback Challenge Sunday MasterMind Alumni Meeting. That's a lot of words. But anyway, welcome to you all. Very excited you're here. As always, I need to remind us that this program is brought to you by my little company, Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. And it is strictly for the purposes of education and inspiration and sometimes perspiration, but we do not make any claims to diagnose, treat, or prevent any conditions or illnesses, nor do we make any claims and guarantees that after carrying out any of the suggestions, ideas, and techniques that we give you during these sessions, that you will instantly become massively wealthy all by yourself without doing anything. We don't make that claim. It's really up to you and how you apply what we give you. But I can tell you this, if you follow some of the things that we tell you to do, your life may not be the same. So I look forward to hearing from you. I've been hearing a lot from many of you about the changes in your life because of applying these principles. So with that, again, welcome everybody, and I'm going to get myself set up here. We will continue to let people in as they come, but we're going to get started. So thank you all for reading your email and looking at our posts in our COVID Crisis Comeback Challenge Facebook private group. Because that's how you knew we were here and what the link was, and so happy that you're here. If you were there, then you also know that tonight's topic is a really good one. Many times people are looking at ways to end a old habit. Tonight, I'm going to talk about ways to create a new habit. And in that process, you may find that you do end an old habit, and that's good if that's what you want to have happen. But I want to give you an illustration of these 4 keys to creating a new habit and also fill you in on how I've been using them. As I mentioned in my post, I have been having some challenges with my physical frame here. And so it became necessary for me to make some changes, some significant changes, and was looking to create a plan and a strategy, as I always do, to make this a systematic process. And I realized that I would need to create some new habits that would be sustainable, so that this wasn't something that I just did for a little while and then kind of slipped back into my old routines and creating more challenges. So one of the things that I needed to do was I needed to address very significantly systemic inflammation, and especially the inflammation and pain stemming from recurring injuries to my knees and my back. So it became rather evident that I needed to lose a considerable amount of weight, and I needed to do that relatively quickly. So I went back to my notes and I dug up these 4 keys to creating a new habit, because I understood that I needed to completely change my daily habits, my daily schedule, my daily approach to eating, hydrating, and exercise and sleeping. So here is where I needed to make some changes, and here's what I did. The improvements that I needed to inject into my process in order to lose weight was, first of all, I needed to look at how my body was working, the schedule that I was eating and not eating, and I needed to come into harmony with the schedule that my body preferred. I was getting up and doing the traditional big breakfast in the morning and then a big lunch in the midday, and then a smaller dinner in the evening with lots of protein in every single meal. What I discovered in my research was this was creating a tremendous amount of stress on my liver. It was also piling up calories in the evening to where there was not enough activity in the evening to burn those calories off. And as a result, I was packing away weight at night. So first thing I needed to do was I needed to implement a change that would cause me to go into, what we talked about in previous sessions, the intermittent fasting system. Okay? So the way that I approached intermittent fasting was, I didn't look at it like, oh, I'm going to have to fast for a day or 2 days or an ungodly amount of time. What I said was, how can I make this simple? How can I make this something that's connected to a schedule that I already have? And how can I install some different components that would allow me to switch over to this new phase, this new habit, relatively easily? So that's what I did. The first thing I did was I started a process of intermittent fasting. So at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, the latest, I stopped eating. Okay, no more meals after 8 o'clock p.m., right? So that I was able to fast from 8 o'clock p.m. until 6 o'clock a.m., which is when I would normally sit down and I would begin my day. But instead of beginning my day with the old habit of eating a large protein-dense, starch, carbohydrate-dense meal, I moved to substituting that old behavior with a new behavior. And what I implemented was, after doing some research, I found that by implementing the bulletproof coffee strategy, that I could address several things going on in my metabolism. Number one, by cutting out the protein, which is taxing to the liver first thing in the morning, by cutting out all the starch, of toast or bagels or something like that, by cutting out the refined sugars and starch, and just keeping to this simple, basically it's water, it's very clean, pesticide-free, organic coffee, which has a little bit of caffeine, enough to boost my metabolism in the morning, which I needed because I have a relatively slow metabolism. And so by having the bulletproof coffee drink, which is coffee, it is grass-fed, specially buttered, ghee. So this coffee with the ghee in it satisfies my needs for the water, for a little bit of boosting my metabolism, and the ghee was all of the good fat that I needed for my body to use fat in the beginning of the day to keep my tissues and muscles and different parts of my body in balance. And so what I found was, by having that in the morning, I was able to feel satisfied, because of the little bit of caffeine in coffee also is an appetite suppressor. And so I started doing that, and what would happen is I would hydrate. So I take a vitamin that is powder and it goes into water. And so after having that coffee, I would, for the next few hours, be drinking water with this vitamin mineral mix. and my body felt hydrated and it felt sustained because of the nutrients. Okay, and this went into then the first of the 4 keys to creating a new behavior. We don't change a behavior by just cutting it out. We begin to replace it with a new behavior, right? And what we want to do is we want to do what's called habit stacking. Not habitat stacking, but habit stacking. So this is where we tie a new habit to a habit I already had, so that my brain eventually is used to the, ties the new habit to the time and the schedule of the old habit and says, well, at this time, he was feeding me in the old habit. So in the new habit, well, at this time, he's still feeding me. I'm getting the nutrients and the, wonderful fats from the ghee and the coffee. And I'm getting the metabolism stimulation. And so my body was happy. And I was happy. And then, I was hydrating by taking that liquid vitamin in water in about, I would fill up 32 ounces of water and put these vitamins in there. And I was sipping on that and it tastes great. And I was hydrating and I felt great between 6 o'clock and noon. So I have not taken from 8 o'clock at night until noon, I have not taken in any starches. I have not taken in any proteins. I've not taken in, complex carbohydrates. At noon, again, at noon is the time when I'm used to eating a lunch. Instead of having a sandwich, which has bread and starch and refined sugars and sometimes processed flour and all kinds of fat and stuff like that, I replaced that with a big salad of mixed greens and vegetables, cucumbers and olives and many things that we grew in our garden outside, organic, pesticide-free vegetables and lettuce. And then I would add a protein. Sometimes I would add chicken meatballs, or I would add some type of, protein that's grass-fed, organic, clean. And I would add some protein, to the meal. And so now, because my body's ready to receive protein, it's getting protein, which right now it's hungry for. So it is taking that protein and it is using it. It's hungry for the fiber and the vitamins from the salad, the vitamins and the minerals that are coming in from the salad. It's just loving it. And it's replacing the natural urge for the sweetness of the flour and the starch and the sugars. It's replacing that with the sweetness of the vegetables and the lettuce. And again, I'm hydrating. So my body's feeling full. It's feeling satisfied. It's happy because now there's some significant stuff in the belly. And so again, I'm stacking on the old habits and I'm replacing them with the new refined habit. So my body feels like it's being taken care of the way I normally take care of it. And it feels like, well, he's taking in stuff during the normal time frame, so it's not that bad. And then I would continue to hydrate during the day. And then when it was time for dinner, I would have vegetables. We would have sauteed or steamed vegetables, again, that came from my garden. And we would add more protein, whether that was grass-fed, beef, grass-fed chicken, grass-fed pork, very lean, a very, organic, grass-fed, free-range type of product that's clean. And then I would also have a little bit of fruit. And then that would be it. Sometimes I would save the fruit and have that later. But at 8 o'clock, the kitchen is closed. And so what happened was my body began to get in sync with this schedule because it was so close to the old schedule. And I tricked it into being satisfied by the replacement foods so that it did not feel deprived. It just was changing its feeling of satisfaction from one habit to another. So, do you all understand that replacing the old habit with something new by stacking in an existing habit? Thumbs up, yes or yes? Okay. So you see the stacking is what's communicating to our brain, and our brain normally resists change and it sees change as a threat and it wants to immediately go back to the old ways. There was no threat here, right? I would normally, we would normally stop our dinner by 8 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. So my body was used to that. Yeah, okay, 7 o'clock, no proteins, no starches, none of that. I would hydrate as much as possible. I would wake up in the morning and start the routine at 6 that my body was used to, except I had replaced the stuff that was causing me to pack on weight and affect my blood sugars and, store fat. I was changing that. Okay. The next key, okay, we talked about habit stacking to change the habit. The next one was starting small, okay? Starting small. So I stacked on my normal behaviors and made small changes so my body didn't notice it. Also, I added additional exercise, okay? So instead of just doing the boxing that I normally did with my virtual reality headset, instead of just doing that, and instead of just doing the 2 workouts a week with my trainer, which was normally strength training and a little bit aerobic, I extended my virtual reality workout by adding a better warm-up exercise that allowed me to burn calories, get my heartbeat up, but it was not as strenuous on my joints, so that I could sustain then the other 40 minutes of the more strenuous boxing type of exercise. So a little tiny change. I added 15 minutes of a lower frequency, lower stress. My body hardly knew the difference. Little change. And then slowly I added other things like an additional weight workout. And then I added something else. So when we're doing this, when we're starting small, if your desire is to start an exercise program and you haven't exercised, since TVs were black and white, this is a good way of starting a regular exercise routine, and that is start small. So that could be something as simple as don't put the pressure on, I'm going to have to exercise 5 days a week for an hour a day. Start with, today I'm going to do 3 push-ups, or today I'm going to walk around the house 3 times. That's all. Just start out small. And then 2 days later, you add something else. Okay, instead of 3 push-ups, today I'm going to do 4. And 2 days later, 5. And then by the end of the week, it's 6. And then by the next Monday, it's 10, right? But you've done it so slowly and gradually that your body doesn't even recognize that you've had it push and do more. So the same thing, instead of saying, I have to go to the gym 6 days a week, start going 1 day a week, right? And rest the day, go then another day, and then that's fine. Then the next week, go 3 days, or go 2.5 days, for just half the time. But do you see what I'm talking about of tiny incremental changes? How it's not a big shock to the body. So you're making the little incremental change from, 3 push-ups to 4 to 5. or, going to the gym one day. And this creating regularity, though, by doing it every other day and then eventually doing it every day. There are people who've created incredible discipline for workouts. They would go to the gym, they would do one exercise and then go home. The next day they'd go to the gym, they'd do 2 exercises and then go home. Third day they would go to the gym and do 3 exercises and then go home. And by the 5th day, they had a full workout, but their body didn't think anything of it because it was so incremental. But what was happening is the brain was being trained. I'm exercising every other day. I'm exercising every day, just a little bit, just a little bit more, just a little bit more, right? So this is where the starting small combined with the stacking is starting to generate activity towards the desired goal for me, right? And that moves into the third key, and that is we talked about starting small, and we moved into expanding small, right? Just what's one thing I can do today differently towards my goal I didn't do yesterday? Right? What's one thing I can add to my routine that I didn't do yesterday? And then keep building on that. So now we have the stacking, the habit stacking. We had the starting small, and then we added expanding it in a small way. And we made it so it was simple. It was one decision that I can make right now that I can take immediate action on. And that one decision was either doing an extra push-up or spending an extra 5 minutes or doing a different exercise program to warm up before I do the more strenuous one. It was one decision. And it was one decision that I acted upon immediately. I didn't give my brain time to think, I don't know, 3 push-ups. Could we do just 1? Could we do 1.5? Could we do? There wasn't time for that. I was just, all right, today I'm going to do 3 push-ups. Boom, 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 knock them out. And that was it. Okay. Habit stacking. Start small, expand small, gradual, a little at a time. Then finally, what we want to do is we want to speed up the process. After a week, 2 weeks, we want to understand that by speeding up the process, we can actually have more energy to fuel the habit change. So for me, I needed to combine the nutritional activity and the physical exercise with increased energetic mental, emotional, and physical energy, right? So I had to get excited about waking up. I had to get excited about having that bulletproof coffee in the morning. I got excited. I drank it sip after sip and just kind of reveled in the taste and reveled in how I felt. And then I got excited about the vitamin water drink, and I got excited about stepping on the scale in the morning, which is the first thing I did. And in a little over a month and a half, 17 pounds disappeared. Okay. Less than a month and a half, like a month and a quarter. 17 pounds have disappeared. Thank you. Okay. And for me, that is really difficult. Right. But, when I ask you to do something, when I recommend you do something, I make sure I do it, and I make sure I get results before I tell you about something. So now I made a commitment, so I want to hit 20 pounds, and I'm hoping to do that in a week, 7 days from now. I will report to you next Sunday, and I'll be honest with you, because then eventually I want to lose 25 pounds. Then eventually I want lose 50 pounds, okay, as my total loss. And then eventually I want to lose 60 pounds, okay, of total weight loss. So we'll see. But I'm starting out small. So first thing, we need to replace the old habit with a new habit, but we need to do it by fooling the brain, by slowly reconditioning the brain, by habit stacking on things it normally does, right? I normally sat down in the morning, took out my phone, took out my computer, looked out the window, and instead of eating the bacon, eggs, and toast, I sipped that coffee, which had the ghee, butter, and my body was satisfied. And then I immediately started hydrating with the water, the vitamin water. I started small. That was the first change, was not eating after 8 o'clock at night. Second change was changing the breakfast. Third change was changing the lunch, changing the dinner, and returning back to stopping at 8 o'clock. Habit stacking: start small, expand slowly, and then speed it up. I'm going to stop there and let's open up for questions about these keys and also my process. So let me return us to the gallery view. And who has a question about either the process or the 4 keys? By the way, welcome, Felicia. Welcome. Okay, Mary Ann.
So is the last key number 4, speeding up the process?
Yes, it's speeding up the process by putting ourselves in an energized state. So when I say speeding up the process of stacking, starting small, and expanding slowly, but speeding up the effectiveness of the process by adding energy, right? Those of you who've been using my Daily Goal Achievement Mastery Journal, right? We had in there, after you've been inspired, we have you going in and we have you creating an affirmation, right? And that's the first step. But if you want to go beyond the affirmation, if you stand up and move while you're saying that affirmation, and you do it with excitement and you do it with determination, like, today I am receiving limitless abundance from life. Today I am eating healthily. I am supporting my body's natural process of burning fat and growing muscle and purifying itself. Whatever it is, there's energy. I'm moving my arms. I'm walking around. That creates a augmentation or an expansion from affirmation, because affirmation is basically writing or talking, I am this, I am that, or I am doing this, or I am doing that. By adding energy and voice and movement, it becomes an incantation, which involves all of your senses and your inner senses and your entire energetic structure, because you have movement, you have sound, you have light, right? Energy, all of this happening, right? And you have focusing the brain, and you are giving your brain, you're giving your mind, you're giving your emotions, you're giving your body this unified, congruent message that this is what I am. This is how I am. This is what I do. This is what I achieve, right? Today and every day. You see the difference, right? So, long answer to your story, Marianne, but do you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. And while I mentioned the journal, again, the journal is a great place to put in your daily goals, your 3 daily goals, right? To put, hey, I'm going to stop eating at 8 o'clock and not going to take anything in till 6 in the morning. And instead of protein, fats, and carbohydrates, I'm going to have the bulletproof coffee or some herbal tea, but it's clean. And I'm going to add some yak butter, to it, or grass-fed ghee butter, but whatever it is, start small, put it in your journal. Today I'm doing this. And that's part of your things to do also. And the things not to do is not eat the bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel for breakfast. I'm replacing that. Not eat a bacon, egg, and cheese, or a, Whopper for lunch with all of those carbs and fats, right? But switch to an abundance of healthy food where you feel just as full, but it's good stuff that is supporting your desire to have a healthier, leaner body, and not bad stuff that just fills your belly, but, feeds your fat cells more than anything else. Okay, Marvin.
Okay, so as I'm doing my exercises in the workbooks, I realize that my mind undermines most of my goals and most of the things that I start.
Yep.
Can you say something about how to create habits to replace the negative thinking habits?
Yep. Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention that I do as an exercise, a visualization exercise, is I have a talk. I go into my boardroom and I have a talk with my body, right? At night, I talk with my liver, and I talk to it and tell it, how much I love it and how important it is that I couldn't live without it, and how sorry I am that, I was not taking better care of it at night, because I was eating, late at night, and then I was eating a lot of stuff in the morning that needed to be processed. So I apologized. I told it I loved it, and I told it how I was changing because I loved it. And what I needed it to do, I needed it to rest that night and detoxify. And I'm going to extend that time all the way till noon. So it has like a vacation, right? So I have this conversation with it and I bathe it in love. And then in the morning, right, I talk to my body and I talk to my stomach, right? And I, talk to it about, I know that this is a change, moving to the coffee, but the coffee has this buttered ghee and it is so rich and it is so good and it is so tasty and it's going to make you feel full and satisfied. Plus, I am pumping you full of vitamins and minerals and trace minerals and herbs and all kinds of wonderful things that it's feeding you. Listen, look how the cells are being fed, and I visualize and show it on the screen how the cells are getting all of this nutrition in, and how the fat cells are sitting back and they're like, twiddling their thumbs like, well, I guess there's nothing for me to store inside these fat cells. So I'm going to sit here then and wait for them to tell me what to do because I can't do what I normally do. But all the other cells are happy. All the organs, they're having a parade. Everybody's happy because they're getting all the nutrients they need and they're not being taxed and abused. You see where I'm getting at, Marvin? Then I talk to my mind and I say, okay, this is the new schedule, right? So be creative so that when I start to feel a little hungry or I need to come up today with a creative way of exercising, go to the drawing board and come up with a really cool plan, And I talk with them, hey, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try that. And then I record that in my journal. Do you see how instead of my mind sabotaging me, instead of my body sabotaging me, I am engaging each of my inner bodies. I am loving them. I am educating them. I am giving them a specific role to do and specific changes I want its help with. But like any good relationship, it requires me to have communication with it. It requires me to give it attention and love. It requires me to validate it and let it know, I'm not punishing you. I'm not starving you. I'm changing the way I'm doing things because I want you to be healthier. I want you to live longer. I want you to be able to see grandkids if they come along. Right? And I need you to get rid of this inflammation. But in order to get rid of the inflammation, I have to change what I'm putting into the body, what effect that's having. And then I also need to do exercise to build up the muscles so that the joints aren't as strained and don't get as inflamed. And then I also need to get more sleep. That's the other component. I need to, go to bed a little bit earlier so that when I wake up with my two biological furry alarm clocks whose bladders and bowels determine when we wake up, I'm rested and my body feels like, okay, we're good. We're in good shape. Does that answer your question, Marvin? Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's what I'm asking you to do in the workbook. For those of you who are in the master class, the first and third Sunday, working on workbook 2 now. Workbook 2 is now really honing in on this process, really honing in on it, of using mentors, using guides, using inner communication. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I think I get the idea of the stacking of the habits and starting small and all these steps. They all make sense. I'm just wondering if you have a day or a couple days that you have a kind of an unusual day where you're not getting up at the same time, like there's a break in the habitualization of your day. For one reason or another. Maybe it's visitors coming all of a sudden. Maybe it's you're invited to parties or something, and whatever. Something breaks this nice pattern you've got. Do you have any sort of tips for how to get back on track, or how to incorporate something that is out of the habit back and getting back into it easily?
I think the first thing is to understand that we are responsible for the actions we choose and the decisions we make. Okay? That for me, because of the seriousness of the health challenges, okay, I have to take that responsibility, right? If I don't do this, my heart's not going to be happy. If I don't do this, my joints are going to need surgery. If I don't do this, there are serious consequences, right? So I make those consequences real enough and important enough to where I take responsibility. And if one of those things, if I'm off by one of those things, do the rest of them, right? And then the next day you make up for it, right? But don't allow Mark, what happens for a lot of people is the brain is waiting for us to give up, right? The first few days it's waiting because it knows, Mike doesn't have the discipline to carry this out. We'll play along for 3 days, 4 days max. But by Friday, he's going to be begging for that bacon, egg, and cheese bagel, right? He will sell his liver for the bacon, egg, and cheese bagel, let alone want to clean his liver, right? So that's what the brain is thinking because, being honest, I've been on a million diets. I've lost enough weight to feed, an entire third world country, right? Over and over again. So my brain is saying, yeah, okay, this is the diet of the year. We'll go along with it. But by using this process, by being consistent, right? And I'm using the, those of you who know the Noom app. In addition to the journal, I'm using the Noom app. And that sucker is pestering me all day long. Hey, did you log what you ate? No, you didn't. Log it, right? Because right now you're at one in a row.
Yeah.
You're a whole one in a row, right? Let's go for two today. Let's go for the whole day. And before I know it now, I don't want it bothering me. So I make sure that I log the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner. I'm drinking. I'm doing the number of steps it's requiring. I make sure that phone is in my pocket and I'm walking around, because I walk around the house 1 or 2 times each time we take the dogs out. Plus I'm walking around if I go to the store or whatever, I'm getting my steps in, right? But it's through a variety of different activities. And then when I'm doing the virtual reality, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And then when I'm working with my trainer, I don't have a choice. She comes on at 12:30, and I have to do what she makes me do. Right? That's why I have her come on at that time. Does that answer your question, Mark?
I just have one quick follow-up, and that is the this idea of making the consequences real. Like, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you can see where we're heading, but I've seen people that have had a heart attack and they're still eating a burger that covers their, you can't see their face when they're eating it. What is it that makes the consequence real in the moment?
Well, Mark, you can't make that real for them. You can make it real for yourself. And that's really what we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. We only have the power to make it real for ourselves by organizing our thoughts. Then by organizing our thoughts, we organize our actions. And by organizing our actions, we organize our habits and our schedule, right? So if we're off schedule one day, go back to the schedule for the rest of the day, and then make sure the next day you're not doing it again, right? Right? First time, it's an accident. It was a possibility that happened, right? Second time, it's a repeated accident. Now we're moving into from a possibility to a probability. Third time, it was a choice, right? Choosing not to act is choosing. It's the same as choosing to do something else that's damaging. Choosing not to do something that's good is the same effect on ourselves as doing something bad, right? But we have the power to make that choice. And that's why it's important during the day, Mark, and here's something I'll add with Mark, and that is, during the day, find rituals that you do, even though your brain and your mind doesn't want to do them. Find rituals to do every day to show the mind and the brain and the emotions and the body who's the boss. Right? Every day we need to go in, have a conversation with our inner bodies, use the boardroom, temple, studio, whatever it is you want to use. But you are the boss who gives the job description, gives the support, gives everything it needs, gives it the marching orders, gives it everything that's necessary for it to do its job and feel important. But there should be no confusion about who the boss is. This is the same thing when you're training animals, right? Today, and especially the post-COVID world, our animals have become our children, and they are pampered, and we love them, and we goo and gaw over them, and we let them do anything that they want to do, and then eventually we're the pets and they're the owners, right? Animals, just like children when they're young, they need clarity, they need communication, they need discipline, they need regular schedules. and they need to know who the authority is. In a pack of animals, they need to know who the alpha female or alpha male is, right? So we have to let our inner bodies know that we love them and they're important and here's their jobs, but there is no confusion about who the alpha is in this situation, right? Soul is the alpha. Your already goal-achieved higher self is the alpha. And nobody had to die to make you the boss because you are the boss, right? All right, Randy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Mike, this is great because what you were just talking about is something that I have been falling into for the last few years. And I can attest to the fact that integral fasting and that allowing the body an opportunity to start to move into a high frequency lifestyle. And ironically enough, just in the last 2 days, I had to update my mission statement for our greenhouse and what we grow. And what I heard was our mission is to put people at the center of their own health and wellness by making optimum health a lifestyle that's available to them and anyone else. And so, I mean, what better way to see the proof and and the benefits that we are bringing to our health, our body, our mind, our the way we function on a daily basis, than to allow the body's frequency to elevate when we do a spiritual exercise. It has a spiritual frequency; it's elevating. And when we are getting exercise, like you were talking about, when you're fasting, giving the body a break, giving the liver a break, all of these things are now elevating the frequency of the body we live in. And for me, it's the sacred temple here. I mean, and if anything, I believe it's worth maintaining at a constantly higher level, what you were talking about, every day a little bit more. It would be our body, because we're living in it. And it's me and soul in here. And so all the more reason, all the more motive, for me to, look at ways in which my body can respond and show me how much it's improving. One of the things you mentioned was inflammation. I think we had a conversation once. We were talking about, isn't it interesting that all of the basic causes of chronic disease are inflammatory?
Yes.
And that's been out there for a very long time. And I've been hearing it from everyone. But it makes a big difference when my lifestyle is elevating to the point where my inflammation is being reduced and my vibration is being elevated.
Yep. And again, so there is a gradual increase of adding some specific steps, right? And changing some steps that are part of our normal routine. When I was helping this company get veterinarians to have their own online store, and then trying to get more of the animal owners who, visited the veterinarians to use this online store to order their products for their pets. One of the things I recognized and that we worked at was we needed to educate, right? We needed to educate the animal owners, and we needed to get them into a rhythm of ordering certain kinds of products that were important to the animal, right? Important to their pet. So we got them into a routine by emailing them a newsletter, right? Every week. And then inside the newsletter, there were coupons that saved them money on all the stuff that they buy regularly. But then there were special articles about why is it important to give your dog omega-3, fatty acids. And the next day was, why is it important for the dog to have digestive enzymes, right? Why is it important for the dog to have liver support if it's on corticosteroid-based medications, right? So now we were changing the culture of the pet owner. We were changing their routine and their habits to where they were educating themselves every week, because by educating themselves, they could take advantage of the savings And then by taking advantage of the savings, they were getting more products into their animals that were healthier for their animals. And as a result, their animals got healthier faster, right? So eventually we created new habits because we changed their culture. So we change a culture when a change of our decision-making, a change of our goals and a change of our decision-making process results in a change of habits, which results in a change of our schedule, which results in more change of behavior, and eventually those changes become part of our normal everyday process. And our culture of ourselves, my culture of health has been changed more in the last month and a half than my whole life because of using this process, using the journal system, using the new addition to the journal, using the habit stacking, the starting small, expanding small, and speeding it up. And that communication with my body and my mind and my emotions. When I step on that scale, I step on and I'm talking to my emotional body. And when I see that number going down, we party, right? We celebrate. We have a little parade around the scale, right? To reinforce that, excitement, right? Those are the things that we need to do to make it real. If we want to change, we have to make the change be something that we're willing to commit to by making it something that's already a part of what we do, what we love, what we desire, what we're used to, and just make the tiny refinements a little at a time to where we don't even know we're changing. We don't even realize it until you step on the scale, right? Or till you have your blood tested and the triglycerides have gone down significantly because you're not having as much starch and carbs and fat, right? And the more the body burns fat, right? Because it's going to burn fat. But if there's no new fat coming in, it's going to burn the reserves of fat, right? That are there. And if it's not getting any fat from 7 o'clock at night until, that little bit of fat in the ghee, it's burning what's around the belly, right? It's not storing it anymore, it's burning it. And then the more you exercise, the faster it burns it. And the more you hydrate, the more you detoxify and the more your body will want to burn the fat. The hydrating is really, really important. The secondary reason for building fat reserves, not just to have fat in the cells to burn when there's no food, but the second reason is we encapsulate toxins with fat. The body will take fat and surround toxins with it to protect the body from it. So if we are not taking in all those nasty chemicals from the processed food anymore, if we are not, taking in all of the yuckiness, right, that's in the commercially packed foods, that's in the fast food, that's at the pizzeria, right? If we're not taking that stuff in, your body doesn't have to encapsulate anything with fat. Your liver doesn't have to work overtime. And we're going to come more and more and more into balance. Right? So think about all of these things stacking up, because the first thing is I changed my goals. Right? I changed my plan. I created a plan that my entire body could actually see and feel and hear and look at and say, this makes sense. I can do this. I can do this because it's not asking me to do too much too soon of stuff I don't want to do, right? That sounds like high school, right? I have to do too much of stuff I don't want to do, right? Okay. Am I making sense? Now you can extrapolate, you can replace my goal of a healthier body, a healthier diet, healthier weight. You can take that out and put anything you want to put in there by following the same process of re-educating your brain, re-educating your mind, re-educating your emotions, re-educating your physical body. You put the same, use the same formula. It's the same recipe, just change the ingredients. So how many people think that tomorrow they can make a change in something they're doing and do just one day, make the change, make a small change, make that change adding to an already existing habit? Yeah, good. It's as simple as, you know, another example of the stacking, right? Before I go to bed at night, I floss and I brush my teeth, and then I use a water pick, and then I gargle with, you know, an antiseptic type of mouthwash. I mean, I do a lot of stuff to my mouth, but having done all of that stuff, I then immediately take the supplements I need to take at night and the meds I need to take at night. And it's part of my goal that when I lose a certain amount of weight, I will be able to drop those two medications that are doing more harm than good. So I take all of that stuff I'm supposed to take, and I don't skip it because I've stacked it, right, with the habit I already have. So I just have added a habit. Same thing in the morning with the, you know, the bulletproof coffee. I stack the bulletproof coffee with drinking the water that has the vitamins in it, and taking the CoQ10, and taking the fish oil, and taking 3 times the amount of, you know, turmeric because of the severity of the inflammation that I have, right? But I stack that so I do it automatically. I don't miss it. I don't miss a day because I've stacked it. Okay, so everybody thinks that this is a doable plan, yes? And everybody has something that tomorrow they can put in their journal and they can start working on or working towards. Fantastic. I guarantee you, you will see change faster, that lasts longer, and makes you feel better than you ever had before if you play with these 4 keys and use your journal.
Hey, Mike, can I just ask, I missed a little bit of the beginning. I just want to clarify this, the stacking. Are you linking it to a habit that you've already got, or are you're linking it? So you've got a habit of you're drinking coffee, so that's when you do whatever, you take your vitamin mix or something like that.
Right. And,
That's
you know, I have a habit of where I am not in the kitchen after 8 o'clock, right? So that was a habit. You know, before I started this diet, I'll be honest with you, I strayed from the habit. You know, either I made Maybeth go in the kitchen or I went in the kitchen, and I would justify that, oh, I'm not going to have cake or cookies or anything like that. I'm just going to have popcorn, right? It's only popcorn. Popcorn doesn't count, right? You see the commercial with Skinny Pop? It's popcorn. Popcorn doesn't count. Popcorn counts. It's carbs, it's useless, and it goes directly to Fat Town. The train goes directly to Fat Town. It does not make any other stops, right? It goes right to Fat Town. That's why 8 o'clock now, nothing but water. Right? Yes? And then I'm going to hit Randy up for a massive amount of wheatgrass, and we're gonna add some additional cleansing, and also going to be doing some other things, some other wonderful suggestions of things that help the body get rid of inflammation. I started regularly going to Dr. Robin, and she's giving me laser treatments to help deal with inflammation in the knees, different exercises. So I am attacking this like, going after the enemy in a martial arts battle.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to do. We need to make this a war. Right? If you want to make a change, you need to make it a war, but make it a pleasant one, right? That's the key.
Mhm.
Make it pleasant, make it harmonious, and do it through re-education. And use these 4 keys. Any other questions before we go? I kept you a little bit later. I apologize.
Not a question, Mike, but I just want to say, can you hear me? Yeah. I think it's really exciting to watch you making these shifts and changes, because I think we're all on the same page. We're using our journal, we're figuring out how to do this. And, it's exciting that we're kind of doing this. I know we're not like directly in touch with everyone in this group, but in a sense, there is a group consciousness. We're all making these changes. And I think that's kind of exciting too. There's kind of, I don't know, just a connection, I think, that exists with this group, and how we're all, like, I hear Randy talking, for example. I'm really excited to hear what he says, because it's just really on. And, I can see that everybody's doing things that they kind of, what's the word, resonate with me, and the changes that I'm making. So it's just exciting. And thank you. And congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Mark, you brought to mind something I want to build on, and that is, one of the things that we implemented, and actually Mark was a key factor in that, is, the study buddy groups. So whether you are in a, like if you're in the Regal group, the Regal Journal Study Buddy group, or if you are in any of the masterclass work and workbook study buddy groups, I'm going to ask the study buddy group leaders to, help hold your people accountable for the goal they're making of the behavior they want to change. And so, when somebody gets around to sharing their win for the week, have them share their win, but then have them share what's the habit you want to create and change starting today or this week. And then let's support each other, and let's hold each other accountable and support each other. Support each other in the Facebook threads, right? Checking in with each other, giving advice, giving, things that work. And you will find that the progress will be quantum energized, because that is a key component of change. And that is, it's important to have accountability partners. It's important to have mentors. It's important to have proximity to success. Right? If somebody like me wants to lose a lot of weight, the people I need to hang out with are people who are healthy, have healthy eating habits, healthy exercise habits, and who don't have their own private table at the pizzeria. Right? That's important to choose. Marianne, why are you always laughing?
Because I really can relate. I might have the table at the pizzeria.
Yeah. Right. So you're a fellow starchaholic. I totally get it. I understand.
It's Italian, I know, but it can be broken. That can be broken. Yes.
It can be. Yep. And even, just in our talk, by stopping the talk that says, oh, I'm Italian, I've got, I've got tomato sauce in my veins and I have to have pizza daily or I'll die, right? You change that, right? You change that and say, I am capable of making any decision work because I'm the boss. Right? I'm the boss. Right? And when we start doing that in one area of our life, we're going to start realizing we're the boss in all those areas of our lives, because we've proven success, we've proven that a process works, and then we just continue the process and expand what we use it on. But it's the same process. And what an incredibly empowering thing to know that, if a year ago you felt you had no control over your life, and suddenly you're starting to control all kinds of stuff, and you're having all kinds of changes and all kinds of results you never thought possible in your health, in your work, in your finances, in your relationships, whatever it is, right? You just keep stacking. You start small, you expand slowly, right? And you do it with energy, you do it with support, you do it with accountability, do it with good tools, good mentorship, good coaching, right? I'm supplying all of that in this program. It's all here. It's up to you, it's up to me to take it and do something with it consistently and measure progress and keep learning, right? Keep learning. Fantastic. Well, I really want to thank you all for being here. It's so great to see you all again, between the challenge and the master classes now. This is precious time when we have the ability to get together and seeing each other live on a Sunday. So I look forward to it the next time. Take what you've learned today, do something with it, make your life better, share it with someone else, have them make their life better. With that, I will say good night. I love you all. I'm excited, always excited about the progress you're making, where we're headed with this incredible group. Have a great evening. Have a great week, and we will see you again soon.